Hi, everybody. I'm a co-founder here at Orah, currently based in Colorado and speaking with plenty of Blackbaud schools. So I'm going to run through the main reasons people are partnering with Orah if they're using Blackbaud and go through a quick product demonstration and share some case studies. And I think this slide deck will also be a part of the
Yep.
follow-up resources. Okay, yep, cool. But we'll just give it a couple more minutes for people to come through. I know it's a busy time of the year as well for everyone, given graduation and stuff. So thanks for making the time. All right, I'm just going to share my screen. Get ready here. Cool. Yeah, as I mentioned, the purpose for today is showing you why people are using Aura and Blackboard together. We're a close partner of Blackboard's. The agenda for today will be to cover those key use cases, cover some case studies. There's also some resources around our roadmap that we've built alongside Blackboard. At least they're giving us feedback on that at the moment. And the outcome of this call would be great to tee up a personalized demonstration with you and your teams, if that makes sense, just because I'm just going to cover a very high level overview today. So just to give some context for all of you, we started out in 2015, about 10 years ago now, specifically in boarding schools in the beginning, which for all of you that have worked in boarding schools or might currently now, we all know that's probably one of the most complicated and difficult problems to solve around where are our kids. So we focused or really honed our craft in that world, and we work with 500 schools in around 20 countries around the world. And like I said, schools need to know where every student is in real time, and that's our primary purpose. The first screen here is basically what we call our tier one module, which is a dashboard that can click into Blackboard. You'll see a little Blackboard logo there giving you a sync time, and I'm just going to jump into the product now. Can you see that, or is it just showing? Okay, cool.
Looks
So
good.
this is our app. I don't know if there's anyone from Bishop Strahan on the call, but they are a longtime customer of ours, initially in boarding, now moving into day attendance. But essentially, you will have a dashboard view like this, which, as I said, if you were that eager, we could set you up today. It's how simple it is. Click this dashboard into Blackbaud. It's going to surface some key attendance insights, and it's going to pull across all those groups from Blackbaud for you to filter down by. So I set up a varsity baseball coach recently that wants to know about any time an athlete of his has an unexcused absence or a late, just so that the next time at practice he can have that conversation because ultimately attendance impacts grades, which then impacts their ability to attain scholarships and their futures. So this screen here, you've got attendance metrics, the key ones there, attendance rate, and you can set a target there. So it's 80 and they're fluctuating on that at the moment, which probably to do with exams and things. We've got attendance concerns, which can be flagged based on criteria that you set. And just to clarify, sorry, this is a dummy account. This isn't Bishop Strahan's actual account. So this isn't personalized information or anything. But the students with the most concerns are flagged here. We got role completion rate. So a big struggle for our schools globally is like making sure that teachers actually take the role, which they're busy people. It's not always the easiest to do that. And then this is going to basically alert them as well. So we can set up alerts to say, hey, you need to take the role 5 minutes after the start of the class or 5 minutes after the end. It's up to you. There is some of that as a baseline in Blackboard, as I understand, but this can go via email, push notification. It's up to you. We've got an attendance heat map, so you can see which classes are potentially lacking in attendance, so you can have a conversation with those teachers. And then we've also got most unexcused absences as well. You'll notice there's a toggle at the top of all these tiles to switch between class and day. And so that is more relevant if you've got an upper school that goes by class and then maybe a middle or lower school that goes by day. So you can switch between those as well. Most tardy students and most excused absences are seen through here. Attendance trends and excuse types flagged over there. This screen down the bottom here is going to give you an attendance rate per student, and it's where I spoke to a school recently. They wanted to give me a list of students with more than, I think it was 7 lates. And so she always has this view up, none there. But if I filter this to 12 months, I bet you I'll catch some. Yep. So I can see exactly which students are on that list at all times. The other key piece to this tier is that you've got attendance alerts. So again, Blackbaud has some basic alerting on their current platform, as far as I'm aware, but we can create any form of alert that your school or staff would like. So like I said, I set one up for a varsity coach recently. We're often talking to division heads, and they might want to know about their students that have missed a certain amount of classes. A common one I'll run into these days is when any student is excused absent or absent, so just absent in general for a specific or the same course. Let's say, I think the common trip I see is at 10, they start to risk dropping down a grade or even dropping out of the course. I can't remember which one it is. But you might want to be told about that as soon as they hit 8 because you've got to have a conversation before it gets too late. And so you might go in total, and we can say over the full year, or let's say for a fixed period or 3 months, whatever you want. And then you can have it send the alert once the criteria is met, and then every time after that, or just when it's met. So you can have once it hits 8, and then 9, 10, 11, you're getting an alert every time. And that can notify staff, which can be a specific staff member by name, or it can be by role. So let's say a division head, for example, would sit in there as well. You can contact the parents and you can contact the students all in one go. And so those alerts go out by text, email, push notification automatically. There's other reasons people set up alerts. A kid has missed the first 2 periods of the day without an excuse. It might text the parents, it might email the teachers, and it might message the students as well to try and triangulate and close that off quickly. Yeah, this is completely customizable is my point. Great. So that's pretty much what you get in tier one. There's a few other things, but that's the key pieces. The next part is getting a real-time awareness of student locations. So at school, we all know there's various reasons there's various things that a kid will be doing that can feed into an understanding of where the kids are. So attendance is a small piece of that. There is a basketball coach might be taking their kids off campus for a state championship. The child might be checking into the health center, the counseling office, the college counselor. There's all sorts of reasons that they're going to be checking into various parts of the campus. And like I mentioned, attendance is a small piece, but it's not the only piece. But let's start with passes. And so there are various systems out there that have addressed this to some degree, but with Orah, a parent can let the school know about an absence coming up via a web app, a mobile app, or a secure parent link, which is often sitting on a school's website. But essentially, it's going to flow through to the screen here where I've got Movie Pass or Parent Pass, etc., which might be more related to boarding schools because they've got weekend activities and things. Or it could be, hey, Alexa here wants to go to the health center at a specific time. And so that's going to flow through. You can review those details, which are customized based on what pass it is. And then the attendance administrator can either give the approval or just acknowledge it. And that's going to flow through to the class role, which I'll show you in a sec. Point here is you can create and customize your forms based on what the event or the activity or the pass is, sorry. And it can enforce rules. Let's say it's a multi-day medical leave that requires a doctor's appointment, a doctor's certificate. And that can enforce the fact that they have to upload that certificate to get approved. So this is all customizable. Now, where we have created a differentiation for ourselves in the market is that teachers themselves and admins at schools we speak with talk about having multiple systems to know where kids are. So you might have something for parents to log absences, or they're emailing, calling in. Someone's manually updating Blackbaud. Then if a kid goes to the college counselor, they might be logging that on a pen and paper, but it's all disconnected. And so ours is that one-stop shop to know where kids are. So that includes taking attendance. So if you're a teacher, it's going to pull in your schedule from Blackbaud. And if there is a pass, which I've got none at the moment, it'll show up. So it'll tell you exactly where your student is. So they've gone to the counseling office, they've stayed home sick. It's all going to show up in here. But point is, teacher just comes in, marks the role, and this is done through a browser extension. So they can have whatever LMS, which we see Canvas, or they're using Blackbaud or Firefly. We've seen all sorts. But the teacher is not having to switch between interfaces to take the role, and they can just keep this open for the whole period. So on the left-hand side here, you might have, Canvas open. conducting your lesson. You've got Google Slides open because you want to present something to your class, but you've got this open at all times to mark that role as people filter through. If there's a late arrival coming in, which I'll show you next, it's also going to show up on this role. So you can expect to have that kid in, say, 20 minutes within the period. So for a late arrival, you're looking at something like this. We've got a few ways to do this, but it'll look like this on an iPad where a kid can come in and actually I've got a better example for this now. Just quickly on the flow for students to sign in, they will come through here, select, depending on the authentication, whether it's a PIN code or QR code or facial recognition, which we're also looking at, they'll select and then that'll check them in. And so everyone knows immediately in real time that they're on campus. That's also going to flow through to the class role. So like I said, that teacher will be expecting that student now because they're actually on campus. It'll have the ability for them to say if they're coming in late with no excuse, or if they've got a late pass that is already loaded up by their parent, then they can click onto that and sign themselves into the school. There is other ways to do this. So we have tiles that look like this, and that is a $10 unit. It doesn't require battery power or Wi-Fi, and it works using the same technology as Apple Pay. So essentially, a student will come up. This is more likely on their late arrival or early dismissals because they can't normally have phones on campus. They're just going to come up to that tile, tap it, activate the pass if they've already got one preloaded, or they'll have to see the reception and they can do it for them. Very soon, which I'll touch on with the roadmap, we are also going to have the ability to use QR codes for students to flash in front of that iPad. I think that's everything for tier two. Maybe worth just touching on briefly is if like I mentioned, a coach is wanting to take their athletes off campus, you will select those students or filter it down to that particular team and apply a pass. Forget the fact that this is all for my demos, but we might put on sport, put in the location, so where you're going, reason, which will then reconcile back to Blackbaud, and then the scheduled start time. And you can also put end time if that's required as well. And like I mentioned, this is all speaking in real time with the teacher's class role. A key piece to this as well is the ability to take the role from your mobile phone as a teacher. So again, if a coach is going off campus, taking a role for their athletes, they can do that from their phone. Same thing if you're taking a class for a PE class or something on the fields, that can also be done from your phone. All of that is then feeding this screen here, which is an overview as to where all your students are in real time.
Yeah, we've got a question here from Courtney. So she
Cool.
just asked, does this talk back to Blackboard in terms of updating the attendance platform there with the data from here?
Yes. So once the role is taken in Aura, that is feeding back every 15 minutes into Blackbaud. And there we go. Once that's completed, that's feeding back to Blackboard every 15 minutes for your academic reporting. Is that what you were meaning, Courtney? I hope that is. Cool. So, yeah, I'm sure there's more to it. That's the key idea here is that you've got that real-time understanding of where your students are. Yeah. So for tier three, which we've seen various systems in the market for emergency management, most of them are capturing a snapshot from Blackbot or your SIS, and then using that as the basis to then go and account for kids or communicate with kids. Now, because the idea would be, and you don't have to, but let's say you are taking the role through Aura, what's going to happen is you can then run an emergency procedure through Aura as well. So upon configuration of your account, we would help you set up the different templates or procedures through Aura. And an example might be a lockdown. And through here is where we can see what the alerts, the templated alerts are for the different stakeholders. So in this case, I've got communications that go out to staff via an in-app banner. Can make it a push notification if I want as well. And then I can also make The same for students. In this case, I'm not letting the parents know, but again, it depends on what type of emergency it is. Once you trigger that start, it's most likely done on your phone, by the way, but everyone on campus will receive those notifications and then they're asked to log in and start accounting for kids. If a student comes by or comes into your classroom that isn't normally there, you would just search the name of that student and then mark them as safe as well. So that is a very quick run through of our 3 tiers of Orah. Is there any other questions or anything on that? No, we're good.
Oh, good.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to jump back into the deck. So an important piece to note as well is I think, yeah, that real-time understanding of where your kids are is ultimately giving you better emergency preparedness or readiness, as we've got here. And for schools that have come along that journey with Orah, they've really nailed where are our students, and they think they've got a good handle on that. Some of them now are looking at the rest of our tools around well-being, which we can do. So check-ins on student health and mental health. There's also student note taking. So you'll see here, some schools are marking those positive and infractions or things like that on a student. You can categorize those, and then what you can do from there is report on it, analyze it, and start to see how that is also influencing or being an influence of attendance. We're trusted by over 90 Blackbaud schools now. I think all of them. Oh, there's some in Canada, so the majority of them being in the US, but some of them are in Canada as well. Quick couple case studies here. University School of Nashville started out just their upper school. Faculty were not always taking attendance. They're requiring manual follow-up, tracking attendance data in spreadsheets. And so now they've got auto reminders to make sure the roles are being taken. That's increased completion rate to 98%. Students are held accountable for tardies and truancies and also notified about it. And real-time attendance was achieved in 4 weeks. And for them, they were a big focus for them is like making sure that their kids are safe, like every other school on this call. And so they're now able to achieve that, and they're growing the subscription there at the school to middle and now lower schools as well. Nichols School, based in New York, Buffalo, I think. And for them, a part of it was reputation. So making sure that when a parent would come in to actually pick up the child or their students, they wanted to know, or they at least wanted to give them a solid, secure answer as to where their kid was, or, and sorry, or they also wanted to allow for that student to leave, but the parent either has forgotten to put it in or they've submitted it and the school hasn't even processed that pass request yet. So that was like it was a stressful thing for both the school and the parent as well. And so now, because we feed back to Blackbaud every 15 minutes while they're taking attendance, they've got very tight attendance records, which shows up in the My School app, the Blackbaud app for parents. And attendance reconciliation is finished 1 hour earlier. So, they're saving upwards of 20 hours a week per staff member on attendance as well. And the parent submits requests through Orah, which feeds into attendance and then ultimately back to Blackbaud.
Yeah, probably a good time to field this question. Someone's asked, how does the sign up process work? Is there a way to ensure that only a parent signs a student out or authorizes them to leave if old enough?
Yes. So, sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry, Tiago?
Yeah. So the sign up process in Orah, how
Mhm.
does that work? Is there a way to ensure that only a parent signs a student out?
Got it. Yeah. Yep. So there is, yeah. So what you would recommend or expect on your side as a school is that a pass is submitted by the parent prior to the pickup. And so the pass will be seen on your side under passes, and it should be in the scheduled tab. And so when that parent comes in to pick that child up, there should already be a pass that is scheduled. It'll have their name and the parent details on that particular student profile as well. Does that kind of answer the question, Tiago?
Yeah, and then in terms of the authorization to leave if they're old enough, that would be covered there, right?
Yes, yep. We do have dismissals. Again, that's on our roadmap. So for the lower schools to be able to scan like a parent's QR code or something to then notify the school that they're here. That is also coming out for the new school year too. Great. So I won't go through all of these, that you'll have this in the pack that we send out afterwards. But a key slide here is probably the difference between what you might come into contact with when assessing other emergency tools. So we kind of start at the foundation level, which is making sure that on a minute by minute basis, you know where your students are. And the key idea here is that from the time they arrive at school through to the time that they leave, you should have a full track record or paper trail, for lack of a better term, for where the student was throughout the school day. And then so that means when we are doing daily late arrivals, early dismissals, absences, everything is tracked through Orah. You've got one place to know where your kids are. If you're then triggering an emergency, it's all leveraging that real-time data. You've tightened up the main problem, which is making sure you know where they are first, versus our competitors. Competitors, not really competitors, because we also work with some schools that use us and combine with these systems, but we help to give that real-time picture throughout the whole school day, not just in the case of an emergency, and we leverage real-time data. Just quickly on our roadmap, July to September, we've got attendance automation coming up. Students can check themselves into class using QR codes, PIN codes, various means, the NFC tiles that I mentioned. We've got dismissals, as I just touched on, for those lower schools that are wanting to track to make sure that, hey, the parent's here to pick my kid up. Let's make sure it's actually them. Extracurricular activity management, if there is activities throughout the school day, after the school day, that's all being tracked and attendance is being taken. Visitor management as well is coming in the October to December period, and then medical dispensaries, which is more boarding school focused. The first quarter of next calendar year, we've got holistic student insights, so being able to combine those data points with attendance and behavioral information to give you early intervention prompts or concerns to focus in on. And then we've also got AI concern and threat detection, being able to take a read on all that information being entered on a student's kind of attendance, participation, and behavior, and then surfacing that for you guys to kind of address. There's also going to be a link to that roadmap through this slide deck as well. And that's it. We will probably be in touch with all of you anyway, but if you'd like to give me an email, it's just paul@orah.com. As I said, I'm based here in Colorado. My phone number is 720-525-9890. So feel free to give me a call. There's some more case studies here, and we'll send that over after this. Cool.
Awesome. If there's any more questions, that was the last call to put that in. Yeah, it was good.
Great. Something I can touch on that I know comes up for a lot of our schools is how do parents log in? So we can use SSO so that they'll just use the same information that they're using to log into your parent portal and things. And a lot of schools will put a link to the Orah app in the parent portal. That's a big one for us. And then the other one that I didn't touch on is substitute teachers. So most schools using Blackbaud will have their substitutes do it on pen and paper, and then you'll manually upload that into Blackbaud at some point throughout the day or sometimes even the next day. I'll just quickly show you what that looks like on here. As I mentioned before, no matter what screen you're on, if you're a substitute taking the role, you can just search the name of the staff member you're taking the role for. That's going to pull up their schedule. Haven't got any in this guy's ones in Kurt's, but you can just take the role here. It's going to timestamp it, tell you which substitute took that role as well, and then continue with triggering all those alerts and insights in real time. That's a big question that comes up for our schools. We also get the odd question around how does this differ from the likes of School Pass or things like that. And I think the main message to go away from this with is, yeah, Orah's whole purpose and mission is to make sure you know where your kids are in real time at all times. Obviously, unless they're outside of your care and they've gone home. But those other systems just focus on kind of those gaps, whereas we want to know at all times where your students are. So that's the biggest differentiator. So we do have 3 packages. Now, the first tier, touching on those attendance insights and automated alerts, that just plugs straight into Blackbaud. Like I mentioned, we can get this set up today if you wanted to. And that's $4 per student. And then we also have taking attendance, passes, those tiles, everything on that tier, and then the emergency response system. And so each one includes the previous as well. So yeah, we'd love to set up a demo and we'll be in touch, yeah, straight after this.